Okay, I have one. Oh wait, no, I lost it.
Welcome to Oddball. Before any of you smartasses say anything, yes, I get it. The picture isn't great. Yes, I get it. The sound isn't like it usually is. Yes, I get it. I'm not in studio. Yes, I get it. The background is kind of fuzzy. Yes, I get it. The lighting isn't great. I get it. I get it. I don't need to hear it. I don't need a comment. I don't need a tweet. I don't need any of that stuff. I just need to introduce Charlotte Wilder, who's joining me. And we've got a show for you today. I'm not going to call it a hell of a show. It's a hell of a show from a certain point of view. But a little bit later, we'll be doing word count because it is Wednesday, and that's what we do on Wednesdays. Isn't that right, Charlotte?
It's word count Wednesday.
Show them paws off. There they are.
I have a new background.
I noticed. Yes.
You know,
think the shot's
Alex
going in or not?
What? There's a shot going in? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Alex, our editor, was like, I'm going to send you some licensed pictures that you can use. And I liked this one. I think it looks like my head is the basketball, Amin.
It looks like you're getting dunked on.
Which I sort of am whenever we do this, let's be honest.
Fair. Let's start today over in the Bay Area with the Golden State Warriors, where Warriors GM Mike Dunleavy Jr. sat down with Sam Amick and Anthony Slater of The Athletic, and they talked about a variety of topics. And one of the questions they asked him was about the second apron. And this was Mike Dunleavy's quote. This is courtesy of The Athletic. I think first and foremost for Joe and the whole franchise, I think the rule changes are a compliment. You know, they're making rules to prevent you from succeeding. And I think that's the way that some of us are, and certainly Joe sees it. There are now financial implications that will keep us from going to a certain level. The star player rest stuff, this is where he's talking about the player participation policy, as well, a little bit seems to be targeted at a roster similar to ours. So I think, first of all, you take it as a compliment when, just like Kareem, when they took the dunk out of the college game during his days at UCLA, you got to let it soak in and feel like, okay, we did something right for the changes to be seen as necessary.
If you are the GM of a team, don't ever say things like this. All you are doing is making yourself look like an ass because you are letting people know that you assume that you guys are so great that they had to change the rules to stop you, which to me is really, it's like if you have to say it, it isn't true. It's like you're trying too hard to be confident. The best way to be confident is to not say this kind of thing and just be like, yep, well, what would you have said if you were Mike Dunleavy Jr. and they'd ask you about the second apron?
Ask me about the second apron. Let's role play. You be Anthony Slater. I'll be Mike Dunleavy Jr.
A lot of people have been talking about the second apron, and how do you and Joe and the whole Warriors organization feel about these rule changes?
Yeah, Anthony, I mean that's an excellent, well thought out, brilliant, intelligent question. This is what makes you one of the best beat writers in all of the association, and I appreciate you taking the time to come on down here and ask me that question. I mean, the reality is it's just another obstacle that we have to deal with. I mean, it's a level playing field. Everyone's dealing. It's not a rule that applies only to the Golden State Warriors. It applies to all 30 teams. And so we've got to figure out a way to get our spending in order in a way that allows us the flexibility to do what we want. And if we feel like we can put together a team that is undeniable, we will cross that second threshold. But I don't think you can get caught up in the whys of a rule change. You just kind of have to accept that these are the rules now.
Thank you so much, Mike. That's such a thoughtful answer that makes it clear that you are very confident in your role as a leader of that organization.
I try, Anthony. I try. I swear to God, I try all the time. My dad's on the phone all the time telling me, Mike, you got to tell him that it was targeted against you. Mike, bring up Kareem at UCLA. And I'm like, Dad, relax. I got this. Dad. I'm the GM. Me. That's who. I didn't play all those years in Golden State when we were trash in order to come and become the GM and make something great trash, Dad. I came here to make it a winner or keep it a winner. I don't know. Everyone keeps comparing me to Bob Myers. I don't know what do you want from me, world? What do you want?
Well, Mike,
with your questions, you think you're so snazzy there going on and asking all in you, Sam Amick, why aren't you back in Sacramento? What are you here? What are you doing here in Golden State? You know what? You guys are like vipers, I swear, just coming at me and spitting venom. You all want to bring us down. But I tell you what, this Chris Paul thing, I stake my reputation on it. And you know what? I think he is going to be a master chess move that I made. And when we have this the parade, you guys better praise the hell out of me. You better say the name Mike Dunleavy Jr. better be the first thing out of your mouth.
Well,
that's
Mike,
how you do the interview.
Yeah, well, Mike, a lot of what you said sounds like something you should talk about in therapy, but thank you so much for telling The Athletic. Speaking of Chris Paul, I mean, there's a word count element to a recent article that popped up.
Shout out to my guy Monty Poole over at NBC Sports Bay Area. He wrote a piece about how Chris Paul can basically bring harmony and like take out all of the kind of rumors and conjecture and the noise surrounding his role by saying these words, Charlotte. And this is what we're going to do. I'm going to read them, and Charlotte, you're going to do the word count thing, okay?
Yep.
All right, so Monty says the veteran guard can issue these words that would silence the chatter regarding his role. I want to win. Everything else, including my role, is secondary.
Oh, he went one over. I mean, 11 words.
You gotta
Come
get
on, Chris.
Charlotte's abacus or something.
Yes, seriously.
I
think. Listen. If he walks into that locker room and and he says only those 11 words, also using the word secondary, which is like not a big word, but feels a little bit like a big word, I think he would get absolutely roasted.
I see you focused on the message. I focus on how I can get it down to 10 words, and I think I know how.
Oh, how?
See, Monty made the mistake because he's a writer and he's been a long time writer in the Bay Area. In the newspapers before crossing over to NBC Sports. But Monty, you got to leave all that APA style stuff back where the nerds are, man. Leave that with the pencil pushers. You got to write like a player would speak. And one little tweak. Monty starts with I want to win. That's 4 words.
Oh.
Watch what I'm going to do here. I wanna win. 3 words. Now you got 10 words. Monty, congratulations. That's how you play word count on a Wednesday.
Also, not a bad message. I see where he's coming from, but I don't know if anyone would believe Chris Paul if he said that.
The only thing I can say it reminds me of is when Dwayne Wade went to Cleveland. Remember, he signed with Chicago, and then it didn't work out in Chicago. And so then he goes to Cleveland. And when he went to Cleveland, everyone was saying, oh, yeah, of course he's going to start. And I was saying, are you out of your mind? How would that work? It wouldn't work at all. The fit would be awful. You can't start him in that situation. And they started him, and it went poorly. And then they said, on second thought, let's bring him off the bench. If you go in there and you tell LeBron and Dwayne Wade, hey, Wade's coming off the bench, then it's like, these guys don't know what they're doing and they won't be bought in. But when they do it themselves, when they start and see how poor of a fit it was, then it becomes almost like it's their idea. You know what? Maybe Dwayne should come off the bench. I'm like, oh, yeah, good point.
I feel like it would just be convincing Chris Paul. I don't know who on the Warriors would be like, what? We want Chris Paul to start. And I think it would be just a Chris Paul situation whose emotions you would have to manage. There's not like the LeBron figure of being like, this is my best friend. You know what I mean?
Sure. And I wonder also for Chris Paul, what are his impressions of what his role is going to be? Does he think he's going to come in there because everywhere he's been, he's had the ball in his hands. Even in Houston, I know people say, "Oh, in Houston they gave Harden," but he handled the ball a lot. He had a lot of freedom and leeway, and ran a bunch of pick and roll stuff for them. Warriors don't really do that, not that much. And so I wonder if he thinks he's going to play like that, or does he understand? Hey, you're going to go run to a corner, and then you're going to vacate that corner because Steph is on his way. Then you're going to run into a DHO with Draymond, and you might fake it. And like, is he aware that's and is he, and even if he's aware, there's always two parts of this. One part is like, yes, I will sacrifice, I will do this, and the second part is actually doing it.
No, it doesn't seem like a good fit, and I do wonder if Chris himself has thought about the reality of the situation, because when you get into something and you have to do it, it is entirely different. And it has, I wonder, I feel like a place that this did work in terms of quote sacrifice was Harden on the Sixers until it all fell apart the playoffs. And then, and now you're dealing with the fallout of Harden being like, I did sacrifice. I did play the way you wanted me to. And now it's a giant mess. I don't see that same mess happening to the Warriors in the same way with Chris Paul, but there are levels to the sacrifice too, I think.
Well, I mean, and I think an even Harden sacrifice, as we know now from the reporting of Ramona Shelburne, it was drag, kicking, and screaming the whole way.
Yeah, right.
Right, like it's not sacrifice if you have to remind everybody all the time, hey, I'm sacrificing over here. Guys, I'm sacrificing. I'm not an all-star. It's because of all this sacrifice. Adam Silver, I will not answer your call. I'm busy sacrificing. If you do it like that, then it's not sacrifice. Right. You have to actually believe it. It's kind of weird. It's like a trust fall. You actually have to jump backward. I don't know. I've never done a trust fall in my life. I don't trust anybody. But you get the point. You got to dive in, and if it's any part of it is what you're, holding on to a railing on the side, then it's not going to work.
I can't wait. I can't wait to see what happens, and I just hope we get some really good reporting from inside that organization. I want to be a fly on the wall of the Warriors locker room all year.
I'm gonna tell you right now, there is no team that has a better press corps around it than the Warriors.
I know. That's why I'm like, oh, let's go. Give me the gossip.
And they all work for the Athletic somehow.
Yeah. Well, shout out.
Yeah. Shout out. Yeah. All right. Let's take a break here. When we come back, Charlotte. Yep. There you go. The paws are up.
Word count Wednesday.
Monty, take note, but not from Charlotte.
No.
Calculus, trigonometry, differential equations. No, just counting the 10. It is the great white whale in Charlotte Wilder's life, and that's why she hates this game. Word count. That's right.
I'm the great white whale on our screens right now, actually, Amin.
Aw. This is the game where we read a question, and the other person has to answer it in 10 words or less, and Charlotte demonstrates to people how we'll know when we've hit 10 words. That's right. Counting on our fingers.
On our hands. Yep. And Amin counts like this. If you're a real Oddball viewer, you'll know by now that Amin starts by going like this. He does hand by hand if he needs the other hand. And I sit here like this because I am guaranteed to use all 10 fingers. But I'm going to try really hard this time, Amin.
You look like someone who's like taunting the police to come arrest me, copper.
Yeah, like, you'll never catch me.
All right, Charlotte, first question. The team you can't help but feel bad for, and why? This is a very Charlotte-tailored question, Hollywood.
It is. All of them, because I can always find some reason to feel bad for somebody. They call it over-empathizing. I don't know. This one seems pretty easy to me right now, though. I'm going to say the Philadelphia 76ers. Because it's a freaking mess. Because I think expectation correlates to how bad I feel for them. Like, they were supposed to be contending for a championship. They still could be, this season if Harden doesn't play and then you've got Embiid and it's like a wasted year. I don't know. I think that for Philly, it is a very quick change from things are pretty good to things are very bad. And so I feel bad for them. Are you ready?
Yep.
What team needs an overhaul the most and why?
Either Portland or Atlanta.
Ooh, okay.
Because I think
Uh-huh.
they're directionless.
Oh.
Right? That's 9 words. They're directionless. Wow. Portland, look, they need an overhaul. It's going to happen when they trade Dame. They've been putting it off for too long. They needed to reset. It wasn't working, and they could have, if they had opened this conversation earlier, they could have gotten their pick of the litter. They could have had everybody line up. But they waited to a point. They said, we're not going to trade him until he says he wants out, because they figured that would help them save face with fans or whatever. But when he wants out, then he has specifics of where he wants to go. If they had done this a couple of years earlier, they would have been able to send them, I think, at least entertain sending him to a variety of places. So that's one. Whenever you wait, you take your agency out of this. You cease to have control of the situation. And they decided to kind of hide from reality rather than face it up front. The other one is Atlanta. Trae Young and DeJounte Murray are 2 really good young players. But I don't think the organization has any direction. They're kind of listless. They don't have a defined style. They don't have a defined kind of pecking order or hierarchy. And I think Trae Young needs to learn or needs to demonstrate an ability to be something greater than himself. And what I mean by that, he's a great young player, but in order to truly lead a franchise, you have to be greater than yourself. You have to infect others with your greatness. I don't know if he's at that point yet. Him and Murray got to have some better chemistry together, and it needs to bleed over to everything else. But I think a lot of that is because there's a lot of uncertainty in that front office. You know, they had the coaching switch last year. So Atlanta definitely needs to get its act together.
All right, Quinn, ball's in your court, literally. Okay, I mean.
All right, next question. Explain the best place to sit in an arena besides courtside.
Upper deck, because camaraderie with crowd and great heckling. Hot dogs.
That's an upper deck exclusive,
What?
is it? Hot dogs?
Yeah.
Like downstairs, they're like, only our Wagyu dog. It's $75, but upstairs.
Hot dogs taste better the farther away from the actual game you are. I live for heckling. I want to be in a situation where people are getting creative with it.
You live for other people heckling. I was about to say there's no chance you heckle.
Yeah, come on. Obviously, I like listening to other people heckle. That's depressing. That is a really sad thing that I just said. I love listening to creative heckling while I just sit there and sort of laugh at them.
My answer would be lower level angle. So this is why. Watch this. If people can say, oh, I want like 50-yard line or whatever, those are the most expensive seats. The cheap seats, or the cheaper relatively, are at the angle because they're almost behind the basket, but they're not behind the basket. When you're behind the basket, you're obscured by the basket. It stinks whenever anything's happening in the middle of the floor because you're watching the game like this, right? But when you're at the angle, you can see the entire court. And so those are the best seats. It's arguable whether you want to be behind the bench so you can see them kind of like coming up.
I like behind the bench. I like behind the bench so you can look over their shoulder. And then when players are facing the other players, like when they're standing there and some people are sitting down, you can try to lip read.
I like being opposite so I can see them. I can see the bench. Like I can see their faces as opposed to the backs of their heads. Also, arenas, stop putting the tunnels in the angles. Those are good seats. Put the tunnels behind the baskets like they do in Phoenix, like they do in Brooklyn, like they do, I believe, in Sacramento. Behind the basket tunnels, great, because those are the worst seats in the house. I'm having to watch like this.
You know where they do that? You know where they do that, I mean?
Where?
UNLV, the Thomas and Mack Arena.
Shout out to Thomas and Mack. Shout out
Summer League. We might still be there. Nobody knows.
Nobody knows. Nobody has to know.
All right, I mean, name a player deserving of a nickname and give them one.
Oh, Tyrese Halliburton, the last hope.
Oh, wow.
The point guard position, as it was played for decades, is damn near extinct. Everybody is now a scoring point guard, a la Steph Curry, Damian Lillard, et cetera, Ja Morant. And I'm not hating on that. Like, that's great. It works. They're exciting. They win games. as a guy who worked with one of the greatest point guards of all time, Steve Nash, I pine for the guys that play like that. Chris Paul, I thought was going to be the last of a dying breed. And I'm talking about star quality. Obviously, there are great kind of game-managing point guards all across the league. Guys like Monty Morris, Ish Smith, like Tyus Jones. Those guys exist. But I'm talking about the all-star, all-NBA quality point guard, MVP quality, like my two-time guy, Steve Nash. Those guys are all but extinct. Chris Paul, I felt, was going to be the last of a generation there. And then Tyrese Halliburton came up. And I love the way this guy plays. I love the way he gets his team involved. I love the way he orchestrates the game out there. He still scores. He gets his. But he's definitely someone who takes pride in playing point guard, being a point guard in the truest sense. So that's why I dubbed him the last hope. Last question.
All right.
The most fun player to watch in the NBA and why?
Ja Morant, but
just stop there.
De'Aaron Fox, because sneaky and explosive. De'Aaron Fox is like he's it's sort of like circus-like sometimes. Like he'll get an alley-oop or he'll juke a bunch of guys and then go in, and it's just very exciting. I love watching him.
You know what's funny is I'm almost certain you don't know this, but De'Aaron Fox and Ja Morant are connected in a really weird way by me.
I don't know this.
By me.
By you?
Yes.
Oh.
So 3 years ago, I want to say, 2020, I was on the jump, and we were doing this segment. It's like quick hitters, right? Rachel asked a question to me. Rachel asked a question to Paul, like going back and forth, and we have like 24 seconds. That's including her reading the question to answer before we move on to the next thing. And so it was a Ja Morant highlight. And I said, Ja Morant is who De'Aaron Fox thinks he is.
Yeah.
And by the way, if you ever see this on the internet, people say, so-and-so is who so-and-so thinks he is. I invented that. That was me.
Okay.
Right? So right. I said that because Ja played winning basketball. And I stand by that. He played winning basketball at the time. He's continued to play winning basketball. Obviously, he's got his off-the-court stuff, and that's problematic. But he was doing things to help his franchise win. I thought De'Aaron Fox is a good player, but, like, he wasn't doing those things at the time. De'Aaron Fox, someone posted and got upset. De'Aaron Fox got upset, and he, like, got in Instagram comments and called me a and I was like, yo, I literally responded to him, that's all well and good, but May 25th, which is because it was that shortened season, that was the end of the regular season, I was like, you're going to be at home just like me. And he was like, whatever. And I'm like, all right, man, well, May 26th, I'll catch you at Chuck E. Cheese. And sure enough, they missed the playoffs because they're terrible, because even though he was a talented player, I don't think he was doing some of the things that were requiring of winning. So they were terrible. And obviously, Ja Morant is having this ascension. But every time Ja Morant would play De'Aaron Fox, all these people would start saying, da-da-da. You know, De'Aaron Fox would have a good game. It's like, ooh, he showed you. I mean, I'm like, the guy's on a losing team. So 2021, they were losing. 21-22, they were losing. 22-23, Sacramento has its great rise. Obviously, Memphis, whatever happened with Ja and that off-the-court stuff happens. So all that stuff rises up again. But my favorite part of it all, De'Aaron Fox became a better player. He was way better defensively. He was way more efficient and judicious with his offense, right? Both team offense and his personal offense. And, like, there was a quote from earlier this season where they were like, yo, Mike Brown has really turned it around, and he's kind of demanding these things of you. And De'Aaron Fox is like, yeah, I mean, I don't see any difference between how I played last year and this year. I'm like, all right, man, whatever. Like, if you want to fight it, fight it.
Right, you're in the playoffs this year, my dude.
Yeah, well, and at that point, they suddenly made the playoffs. But, yeah, it was – the reality is the guy he was in 2020 was not as good as Ja Morant. And I would argue the guy he is now still isn't as good as Ja Morant, but obviously he doesn't have a whole specter of issues hanging over him.
Wow. Amin, the great – 6 degrees of separation with Amin Elhassan.
If you hear someone say so-and-so is who so-and-so thinks he is, or that, again, that was me. Just like so-and-so's not walking through that door. You're welcome.
Who is the most overrated player in the NBA, and explain why,
please? Charlotte Wilder's favorite player, Marcus Smart.
Oh, Oh no! What are you doing? I get it though. I actually do get it, but I didn't admit that. Cut that part out. Cut that part out. I'm the walrus. I'm the Eggman. Thank you for watching Oddball.
Cuckoo, cuckoo.
Just evaluate the trade, the collusion amongst the league and its partners.
Don't ask leading questions.
Yeah, first of all, it's not collusion. It's a spite deal, man. Your boy Joe Cronin.
I told you. I was right.
Spite deal, man. No, I mean, like, you can't tell me this is the best deal available for them unless they have like a massive Drew Holiday, like 7,000 pick return happening on deck. But it's like, other than that, they really didn't help themselves that much better. They got a guy in DeAndre Ayton that Phoenix couldn't wait to get rid of. I thought everybody got better except the Blazers. I don't know what the Blazers are doing. You can tell me that Miami's package wasn't the best. You can't tell me that this package was better. Or you can't tell me that Miami couldn't have figured out a way to help them get this level of crap if that's what they were looking for.
What else was interesting here to you? Because what's going to be the next step on Damian Lillard? What's he going to do? Is he just going to go to Milwaukee quietly?
As far as what the next step is, this is the interesting thing because Giannis, of course, has been saber rattling all summer long, talking about, I'm not signing an extension unless you guys show me that you're committed to winning. And I think it's hard to argue with going out and get Damian Lillard for Drew Holiday's corpse and some toenail clippings isn't
what are you doing?
Making this team significantly better. So what do you mean, what am I doing?
I mean, what are you saying? You're calling people crud and toenail clippings, and you just called someone a corpse.
No. You think Drew Holiday is at his peak right now?
No, there's a difference between being at your peak and being a corpse. There are a lot of stops between those two things.
Man, it ain't that many more stops. It ain't that many more stops. He's a good player. I'm not saying he's not a good player.
You said he was a corpse.
If you're Portland and you are committed to your future, you can't tell me that this is a massive step in their future. It really isn't, right? Like Drew Holiday is someone who has been talking about retiring openly. So I don't know how somehow, no, this is where we'll go with this. Don't talk to me about Tyler Hero. Don't talk to me about other young players. Give me a guard who's talking about retirement, right? So that portion of it is whatever. I don't know what Portland's doing. But for Milwaukee, it's not only getting Damian Lillard and adding him to a team that was already one of the best teams in the league. It's not only convincing Giannis, hey, we got stuff here. It's also convincing Giannis not to go somewhere else. So in a weird chess move, the Bucks not only took Damian Lillard away from Miami, they took Giannis away from all the other teams, Toronto, New York, Miami, all the other teams that were like, hey, maybe Giannis will be available. So kudos to the Bucks, man. It was a great move.
My question to you, though, is about the macro. Before you came on here, I was talking about, is Damian Lillard now going to be the crossroads spot where the superstar asking for a trade doesn't have the power to go wherever he wants, or is he going to keep going? Is Damian Lillard going to do what has been threatened, which is, I'm not reporting to a team that trades for me if it's not Miami?
I'd be surprised if he doesn't report to Milwaukee, just given the caliber of that team. They didn't send them to Indiana or Toronto, where it would still be kind of a ways away. They sent him to one of the best teams in the league that had just given up a guard who, again, had openly talked about retirement not too long ago. Like, Milwaukee made out great. I think Damian Lillard, he'd love to be in Miami, but, man, I find it hard to believe that he'd look at Milwaukee and say, absolutely not. Now, if it doesn't work down the line, if it's if it just isn't the situation or scenario that he thought it would be, perhaps a Miami trade will be revisited down the line. But again, if you're Milwaukee, what did we lose? What did we lose in order to engage in this gamble? And that's a big thing.
I mean, it shows the importance of getting other teams involved in the deal, because a lot of the anger from the Blazers fan base and rival fan bases of the Miami Heat was, well, you can't get Damian Lillard for nothing. You can't get Damian Lillard for Tyler Hero. That's insulting. And they just got Damian Lillard for a contract that we're debating whether or not it's a bad contract or a terrible contract, and a first-round draft pick. That's not going to be great. They got Damian Lillard for nothing, and the response is, yeah, no, that's cool. That's way better.
Bag of donuts.
Right, no, it's insane, and even the Ayton part, man. Like, I don't think you guys know how burnt out Ayton in Phoenix was. This is not a situation where it was tenable, and look, I haven't talked to anybody. I don't know anything. I haven't spoken to anyone. But I guarantee you, Phoenix is head over heels to get Nurkic in over 8. Not because he's a better talent or better, ceiling, but because Nurkic gives them what they need right now. Toughness, rebounding, defense, a guy who can pass a little out of the high post. He gives them a win-now guy. And Ayton is always going to be a guy like, maybe he'll figure it out, maybe he won't.
Can you explain to us what the league view is, as if there was such a thing, of Tyler Hero? Can you explain to me what his value actually is? What is the correct appraisal on how good of a player he is?
Right. So maybe like a year or 2 years ago, we talked about R.J. Barrett, Jordan Poole, Tyler Hero, Tyrese Maxey. Those guys are all kind of they live in the same neighborhood. I think Tyrese Maxey lives in the nicest penthouse. I think Jordan Poole probably lives, in the most modest one. And then RJ and Tyler Hero are kind of in the middle. They're middle of that grouping of players. These aren't players that are surefire all-stars, but they're guys that you could look at and say, well, one day if they keep playing, keep improving, they play on a good enough team, they get a big enough role, I think they could be an all-star or a two-time all-star, something like that. I think Tyler Hero is respected. I don't think his contract is out of order. Like I said, it's right in line with the guys like RJ Barrett and Jordan Poole. And I guess Max is going to be the highest paid out of that whole group. But again, I'm not denying Portland's desire for something that was not roster duplication, given that they have Simons and Sharp and Scoot Henderson. They didn't need Tyler Hero. I get it. I'm just trying to figure out how Drew Holiday somehow that's the one. I mean, it seems like a high price to pay for someone to, I guess, be a veteran experience guy for them. I don't know. And again, go back to DeAndre Ayton. I feel like a deal could have been made involving the Suns, involving the Miami Heat that could have accomplished that goal.
Last thing, we'll get you out of here on. Can you address Mike Ryan's criticism that the Miami Heat has failed, Pat Riley has failed, they have swung out, they have not gotten a whale again, and it's because of arrogance?
Yeah, I mean, like, we did this with Mike before, right? Like, I feel like this is now a yearly occurrence. Mike says Pat Riley's lost it, and the Miami Heat have messed up, and then things seem to work out, so.
Now, when it comes to acquiring the superstar, when does
what do you want, Mike? What do you
want a superstar.
Want?
I wanted someone that can help a reigning Eastern Conference champion. They could have had Bradley Beal. It goes to Phoenix. They could have had Kevin Durant. He goes to Phoenix. Yeah. They could have had Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard's actually playing ball, and he goes to Milwaukee. And he goes to Milwaukee for peanuts because we decided to play this pissing contest publicly, where media juggernauts such as Adrian Wojnarowski and Dan Batard are out here playing this weird game of tug-of-war. Mm-hmm. It was an arrogant approach from an arrogant franchise.
Hey, yo, toss out the whole LeBron thing. What has Pat Riley done?
So it sounds like you guys are blaming Dan here.
No.
I mean, he did push Wade out the door. Don't forget that.
That still haunts you, huh, Dan?
The accusation is an annoying one, given that Wade doesn't feel that way. What is happening in your car right now? Is this family that's confused by why is Daddy giving gas baggy analysis again?
Yes. I took my kid to the Aces Wings playoff game last night.
Oh,
so we just getting back from Vegas right now. Yes, you do. Shout out to Sidney Colson,
yes,
Metal Arc collaborator.
All right. Nice seeing you, Amin. We've missed you this week.
All right.
Thank you for the analysis. I don't know why it was so hostile at the beginning of the interview.
Because I don't like all the slick talk about like, oh, is he in a car? Yes, guys, I'm in a car. You knew where I was.
Okay.
You don't need to do all
I've
that.
riled him up again. This is the sensitive spot for him. Don't point out ever again, Billy, that he's in a car, okay?
I'm sorry.
I don't understand why this is his trigger. Don't point it out ever again. Thank you, Amin. It's nice seeing you. Oddball. Every day except Monday. Every day, because it's Oddball with Charlotte Wilder.